Well, with all due respect to Stephen Colbert, who many would argue should lay claim to this title, Jimmy Kimmel is still the least funny late-night comedy host in the history of television. At least Colbert appears to be attempting comedy most of the time. He tells things that resemble jokes. You know, there's a setup followed by what we can deduce is probably meant to be a punchline. But Kimmel doesn't even do that. His jokes aren't only unfunny, they don't even resemble jokes in the first place. Case in point, this week Kimmel has gotten some attention online for a monologue where he complains bitterly about his own country and says that Japan is better. And once again, it's not clear where the jokes are supposed to be in this diatribe. Listen.
I took my family to Japan this week, and I have to say, I'm still not sure how I feel about what happened over there. You know, here in America, we know we have our faults. We know we have areas for improvement. But overall, I think most of us believe that compared to the rest of the world, we're pretty buttoned up. I know I did. I go to Europe, and there are dirt holes where plumbing is supposed to be, and I hold my breath, and I go, I'm glad I'm not one of these people. And then I go back home, right? But now, after traveling to Japan, I realize that this place, this USA we're always chanting about, is a filthy and disgusting country. We were in Japan for 7 days. Not only did I not encounter a single dirty bathroom, the bathrooms in Tokyo and Kyoto are cleaner than our operating rooms here. Everywhere you go, the bathrooms are clean, they don't smell bad, they have those toilets that wash you from the inside out. And not just in a hotel, restaurants, bars, truck stops. I went to 2 truck stops. I swear to God, the bathrooms cleaner than Jennifer Garner's teeth. The cleanest, beautiful. And it's not just the bathroom. There's no litter. People carry their own trash. There are no garbage cans in Tokyo. 30 years ago, some terrorists put some poisonous gas in some trash cans. They're like, okay, no more trash cans. Everybody clean up after yourselves. And guess what? They clean up after themselves. They bring their garbage to their houses. And it's like the whole country is Disneyland and we're living at Six Flags. I've been home 36 hours. I've never felt dirtier. We are like hogs compared to the Japanese. I can't imagine what they must think of us. The garbage people. Yes, the Americans, garbage. Yes.
So it's a good thing that there's a sign in the room telling people to laugh, because otherwise they wouldn't have had any idea where the jokes were and where one joke ends and another begins. But leaving aside the general unfunniness of his rant, there are 3 other issues that I have with this. And the first is that Kimmel, as someone who lives in Los Angeles, says that America is a filthy and disgusting country, but that's like someone sitting at a Waffle House at 2 a.m. and declaring that restaurants are grimy and depressing places where fistfights randomly break out. Now, that statement would be true of the particular restaurant the person happens to be sitting in, but it's not true of all restaurants in general. In fact, there are many restaurants in this country that are quite clean and peaceful and serve high-quality food in a classy atmosphere. So in a similar way, yes, Los Angeles is filthy and disgusting. It is a miserable place, unfit for human occupation, but not every place in America is like Los Angeles. In fact, most places are not. The disgusting filthiness is really only found in Democrat-controlled metropolitan areas. Although, yes, they managed to have, in Japan, they have managed to have big cities that are not glorified trash cans with drug-addled hobos defecating on the sidewalk. So how has Japan pulled that off? That brings us to the second point. The problem with leftist goobers like Jimmy Kimmel is that they'll make these kinds of observations about places like Japan, but then exhibit no curiosity as to why Japan is like that. They simply make the observation and then move on. These people are so dim-witted and incurious that they can notice a stark, shocking difference like this, that Japan's cities are clean and safe while ours are garbage dumps, without ever stopping for even a moment to reflect on the how and the why. Or even worse, they'll notice something like this, they'll notice the what, and they'll bring it up for discussion, but then stridently condemn anyone who tries to talk about the how and the why. It's 2024, and if you're still spending your money with woke companies, you got to stop that. There are a lot of great companies out there that aren't shoving diversity and inclusion initiatives down the throats of their employees or their customers. Maybe you're already doing business with some of these. That's great. Maybe you're boycotting companies who have made headlines by acquiring the latest trans influencer as their spokesperson. Even better. But have you given much thought to where your money is currently invested? A lot of big wealth management companies making billions of dollars investing your money however they want, wherever they want, even if that means investing in businesses who don't care about your values. Well, you can align your portfolio with your principles today with my friends at Constitution Wealth. Constitution Wealth is the patriot's choice in wealth management. They'll help you build a solid investment plan while reducing your investments in the ESGs and DEIs, companies that care more about global warming and diversity ratios than they do your return on investment. So fight the culture war with your most valuable weapon, your investments. Help build the parallel economy by working with an investment firm composed of professionals who are patriots like you. If you have 250,000 or more of stock and bond investments and would like to reduce your exposure to woke companies, go to constitutionwealth.com/Matt. That's constitutionwealth.com/Matt. Now, in this case, the how and why are obvious to anyone who isn't Jimmy Kimmel or one of his liberal friends. Japan is a homogenous country. Now, that might change. In fact, a report this week says that the Japanese government is bringing in over 800,000 foreign workers to deal with labor shortages. And those labor shortages are caused largely by the fact that Japan has the oldest population in the world with record low birth rates. In the next 50 years, the country's population is expected to decline by 30%. In the next several decades, nearly half of the population will be senior citizens, all because Japanese people refuse to have babies. So, if you go to Tokyo in the not so distant future, it may not be the paradise that Jimmy Kimmel was so enraptured by. But putting aside Japan's slow motion extinction for a moment, the fact is that right now, and for all of Japan's history before this, even back when they were still having babies, Japan is and has been a homogenous country. Nearly everyone in the country is Japanese by nationality, and the vast majority of those people are also Japanese by ethnicity. Okay, it is a country where nearly everyone shares one language, one ethnicity, one culture. And that culture is one that values discipline, hard work, education. Japanese people also have a very high average IQ. They have the highest in the world, in fact. And this is an important point because, and this is, now we get into very unforbidden territory here, but plenty of other countries are relatively homogenous, right? But their cultures are inferior to Japanese culture, and their people generally have much lower IQs. So homogeneity itself does not make an advanced, clean, safe, and orderly society. Homogeneity in a sophisticated culture with high IQ people is what does that. So you could see why Kimmel doesn't want to talk about the why. He doesn't want to talk about it because Japan has made itself so enviably clean and safe and orderly precisely by rejecting Kimmel's own worldview. So Kimmel, as an avowed leftist, believes that diversity is our strength, that we should open our arms and allow the third world to flood over our borders, that we ought to have no national language, no real culture, that we should treat all cultures the same. But Japan is Japan because it has, up to now, done the opposite of all that. And now Kimmel excoriates America for not being like Japan, while insisting that we must not do any of the things Japan has done to make itself that way. And we should continue doing all of the things that make our cities dirty and disgusting, even as he complains that our cities are dirty and disgusting. Which leads to the third point. There are things that we can do to make our cities cleaner and safer. We're not going to get to Japan levels, probably. That toothpaste left the tube a long time ago, but we don't have to live like this. Our cities don't need to be post-apocalyptic wastelands. They can be cleaned up. It's just that Kimmel, while complaining that the cities are not cleaned up, doesn't want to do any of the necessary things to clean them up. And those things would include, first of all, shutting down illegal immigration, drastically reducing and restricting legal immigration, enforcing the laws in our cities strictly and severely, outlawing vagrancy, rounding up the mentally ill people living on the street, the ones incapable of being productive members of society, putting them in institutions, punishing drug dealers and drug consumers, taking repeat offenders, even those whose repeat offenses are relatively minor, putting them in prison with lengthy sentences, strictly enforcing the laws against vandalism, littering, loitering, imposing order with force and severity. That's how you do it. Okay, there is no other way to do it. Or at least there's no other way for us to do it. The Japan option is not on the table, so we're left with doing it the ugly way. And we can clean things up the ugly way. Or we can have an ugly country. Those are the two options. There are no other options for us. Jimmy Kimmel has chosen the latter. He and his liberal friends choose to have an ugly country while complaining that the country is ugly. That's the problem. And that is why he and they are today canceled. Hey, YouTube, thanks for listening to the show. If you'd like access to my full show with no ads, you should go to dailywire.com and use promo code Walsh to get 2 months free on all annual plans. See you there.